So the title Wild Foods here, most of us don't really realize that in our yards and in our gardens, there are a lot of plants that pop up that we should be using. So our current diet, as we all know, is a little bit lacking in nutrition. And since we're already growing plants, we probably should be learning how to use them. So when I was little, my mom showed me these plants. She showed me that we could eat them. They taste pretty good, kind of sour. And I loved sour stuff as a kid. I would eat like a whole lemon plain. And so I just eat handfuls of this stuff. And I didn't really know what they were called, so we just called them heart-shaped clovers. And it wasn't until a few years later that I got a book on wild plants and how you could eat them that I found out that it was called wood sorrel. And apparently a lot of other people know that you can eat them too. And there are quite a lot of other plants that you can use for food. And so I started bringing things in from the yard and using them in cooking. And so my family kind of thought I was a little bit crazy. Like they tried every once in a while, but didn't really want to try it very much. And so probably still do think I'm a little bit crazy, and most people do. Just because these plants are growing everywhere, and we should be using them. Like there are a lot of people that'll go spray their lawns for the dandelions and be mad that dandelions grow anyways. And it's really crazy to me because dandelions, since they're so good for the liver and we should be using them for food, there's people that are spraying those pesticides. They're absorbing some of that pesticide when they use it, and that affects the liver. They should be using these plants that are growing there anyways. So with wood sorrel specifically, it's sour, really rich in vitamin C, and in most of our diet, we don't get a lot of vitamin C, especially compared to what we should, because it degrades so quickly when things are shipped. Wood sorrel is really great to eat fresh, or you can add it to recipes. Makes a really great herbal lemonade. And so, I kind of forgot where I was going there. I guess I'll just go to the next one. So, autumn olives. Autumn olives are an invasive plant, and so it's illegal to propagate them in Michigan. You can't take the seeds and plant them as another plant because they're so invasive. But the reason that we have so many of them is because they were introduced for erosion control and to feed the wildlife. You might be wondering why there's a bunny on there. I've noticed that with autumn olive bushes, rabbits will eat the bark of it before they go eat bark of other things. And so it's really pretty cool how amazing of a food source it is. And not a lot of people talk about it. The best way to control these invasive plants that everybody seems to hate is to harvest the berries from them and use them for food, because then those berries can't go on to produce more plants. They're really great for fixing nitrogen in the soil as well. And the one caveat with autumn olives is that they have little barbs on the plant, like there are spines on the plant, but they're mostly in the deeper branches, so they're not really that much to worry about. Autumn olive berries, they can contain 17 times the lycopene in tomatoes. Tomatoes are known pretty well for being a high lycopene plant, and lycopene is a wonderful antioxidant, really useful for prostate concerns and other situations that we want more antioxidants, free radical damage, excess electromagnetic frequencies around us. And the berries, they're also rich in a lot of other nutrients, vitamin C, carotenoids. It's really, really easy to use them. And so that's why I really feel like we need to help people learn about these more. How many of you don't have access to any land at all that you could harvest anything on? Like no land to harvest stuff from? There's really a lot of us that do have some space that maybe if there's not autumn olives on there might be dandelions or plantain. But those of us that don't have any land to harvest from, you can still harvest from state land. You can harvest for food from state land for yourself, as long as you're not doing anything to kill the plant. So you're allowed to harvest berries and fruits and leaves of some plants. Isn't that pretty amazing? There's resources for you. It's just all that it takes is just the interest to go out and search for it. So with autumn olives, how to make the jam from them. The berries will mature in September, and so there should still be some around now. They're a lot sweeter after a frost. Some people think they're a little bit tart, but I was the kid that would eat a whole lemon, so I love them. They're perfect for me. So you strip the berries off, try to keep the stems out of it, and then cook them just long enough that it starts to soften, and press the pulp out through a colander. And you don't even need to add any pectin. You can add some sugar if you feel like it, but it's really good on its own, especially if you do wait till after a frost. And so we should be eating autumn olive jam every day, like a tablespoon of it. It's full of antioxidants. We go out and find super fruit mixes made with goji berries and all of these tropical fruits that are really great sources of nutrients, but they're out here growing in our land that people are chopping these bushes down because they're so invasive. People hate the plants that are growing everywhere, but they should be using these plants. We should be using these plants. They're here for a reason. The next plant that I want to talk about is velvet leaf. So velvet leaf is also invasive. It's historically used in other countries for fiber and for food. And so it was planted by a lot of farmers a while ago because it's really great for fiber. You can make rope from it. And so there were a lot of farmers over here in the United States that had planted quite a bit of it, and then they found out that it would require different machinery to turn it into rope, and so it kind of turned invasive. And you see a lot of it in farmland that has corn and soy. Corn and soy farmers hate it because it grows really well in dirt that has been polluted even, and so it doesn't take very much for it to grow good. You know, it'll take over and make it so their soybean crop isn't as plentiful as it would be without it. It's a really amazing plant. So it's in the mallow family, so that means it's related to hollyhocks. The leaves are kind of mucilaginous and cooling, so they're really great if you have any hot inflammatory type gut conditions. And you can add the leaves to anything, chop them up and throw them in soups. They'll get about this big sometimes, and so you can use them as wraps. They're really great as healthy wraps. I like to chop them up and add them to soups and salads. The leaves and the seeds are best for food where the stem is a little bit tougher. So these are what the seed pods look like. It's really a distinctive plant. You don't see a lot of plants that look like it. Same with the autumn olive berries. Once you know what these plants look like, if you go looking at roadsides when you're driving through, you notice them a lot more often. With the autumn olives, they're a little bit silvery colored, and so when you see them in the springtime with their pale yellow flowers and the silvery colored leaves, it's really amazing how many you notice. Once you know what plants look like, it's really hard to confuse them with other plants. There's not a lot of lookalikes. So with the velvet leaf, the green seeds you can eat fresh. So the green seed pods there, you'd want to pop them open, and then the seeds would be little round white things in the middle there, so you can eat them plain. Once the seeds are mature, they're a little bit bitter though, so you'd have to wash them first. So in other countries, like this picture, the text there is Chinese, they take the seeds, harvest them, wash them, and then grind them up for flour. The fiber from the stem, so it's really easy to get the fiber from the stem. When the stem is still green, chop it off at the ground, and then you can just peel the outer cover right off it. It's actually what I tied up my braid with as an example, and it hasn't come undone all day. It's really, really great fiber. Most plants that you harvest fiber from, so like hemp is used for fiber, linen is made from flax, dogbane and milkweed can be used for fiber as well. This one, you don't have to do anything special with it. You don't have to soak it, you don't have to break it apart and then spin it back together. You can just strip it off and use it as rope. So if you ever had to tie something up, really, really great. So that rope there is made from velvet leaf fiber. In China, it's been used extensively for several hundred years. That was the only way that I could find a good picture of the rope, was searching for it translated into Chinese. Our next plant is yellow dock. I love yellow dock. So this is a yellow dock plant. It's a biennial to perennial, so in the first year it'll just have the root with a basal rosette of leaves. And in the second year it develops a flower stalk that gets about this tall and then turns brown in the fall. And then if it's a good healthy plant in a good spot, it'll keep making a flower stalk every year after that. So with the leaves, you can't really do very much with the leaves because they're a little bit sour and bitter. They contain a lot of oxalic acid and some other acids. So if you eat too much of them and have kidney problems, it can be a little bit worse for it. Just don't do too much of the leaves if you're going to do the leaves, but they are edible. The root is very medicinal. Don't eat the root. It's not one of those wild foods. It's really horribly bitter. But it's really easy to make a syrup out of, and it's really, really great for the liver. It's high in magnesium and iron, probably one of the best herbal sources of magnesium and iron. And since it is bitter, it's really great for the liver and for digestion. It's just you wouldn't want to go take a bite out of it. Another thing about yellow dock is that it grows back from a tiny piece of root. So you see it a lot in soybean and corn fields. Because when the farmer goes to till the field again the next year, the dock root gets all chopped up, and so it grows back from every tiny piece of root, and so it's really hard to get rid of. In my experience, it's one of the best plants to harvest seeds from. I've tried harvesting seeds from amaranth and lamb's quarter and lots of other wild grains, and yellow dock is by far the easiest because you don't have to winnow it. You don't have to get the chaff. Oops, wrong one. You don't have to get the chaff off it. You can just strip off the seeds. What I like to do is strip the seeds off, put them on a cookie sheet, and let it dry a little bit more, make sure there are no bugs on it. And then you can, I like to toast it in the oven a little bit so they're good and dry, but you can grind it up straight from there. You don't have to do anything special or you have to with a lot of other grains. And it's completely gluten-free. It's related to buckwheat, so you can use the flour pretty much any way that you would use buckwheat flour. It's got a lot of fiber though. It does have a lot of vitamin C and antioxidants too. It's really amazing how many of these plants are so rich in nutrition compared to most foods that we get from the grocery store. Like this is going to be so much more nutrient dense than wheat for sure. Especially because most commercially farmed foods are just fertilized with nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. So they don't really replace any of the nutrients that are taken when you harvest that plant from the soil. And with wild foods, they get to grow wherever they want to. With commercial agriculture, you don't see them use a lot of manures or fertilizers, and even when they do, it's usually from commercial cattle and other like swine operations, poultry operations, and so you're getting more harm in the food that's growing in that soil than if you harvest something from the forest or from your yard, especially if you're not spraying it. So with yellow dock, there's a really great recipe for yellow dock brownies. You can find it online too. They turn out absolutely amazing every time I make it. The one thing with yellow dock flour is since there's no gluten, you have to have eggs or flaxseed or some other kind of flour to keep it stuck together. Otherwise, it'll crumble quite a bit. You can use it for crackers too. They make pretty great crackers with the yellow dock. And since there is so much fiber of it, it can be a little bit of a laxative if you do way too much. I have never been able to eat a whole pan because they usually tend to go pretty fast, but I'd say you probably wouldn't want to eat more than a whole pan. That would probably do something. But usually a couple brownies is totally fine. And so really, I think that we should be using more plants that we grow in our yard as food. There are a lot of plants that, if you're planting a garden, these will sprout up and you normally weed them out and throw them in a compost heap. We shouldn't be throwing them in the compost heap. We should be harvesting them to use. So these are just a few that I picked because they're so invasive and because they grow so fast. You see them pretty common, and these are some of the trickier ones. There are a lot of plants that you can just rip up and eat a handful of plain. They don't require any special prep or any tricks to knowing about it. So really, if I have achieved my goal today, it'll be that some of you go out and see what you have growing, or go stop on state land and see what plants there are a lot of and what you might be able to harvest. Take note of what yellowjack and velvet leaf and autumn olives look like, and when you see them around, just take note of it. See how many there actually are, because they're so common and we should be using them. We shouldn't be chopping them down and killing them. Thank you all for coming.